Hello.
Hi.
Good evening.
Evening. Who am I speaking with? Okay, so we've got people coming in now.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello. Who's that?
Hi, Ian.
I'm Sophie from Sierra Leone.
Oh, hi, Sophie. It's Joelle. We were the ones that we were talking earlier.
Yeah,
Hi.
yeah, we were. Yes. How are
Yeah,
you?
I'm good. How are
I'm
you?
traveling. So I'm gonna be in and out
Oh, okay,
of
okay,
the network. Yes.
okay.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you, thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for joining. So I'm
Yeah,
just gonna wait for a
thank
few
you.
more people to come.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so who else have we got? Joshua, Corey, Obama. Okay, so I'm just gonna wait for a few more people to join, then we'll start.
But by the way, hi everyone. You're welcome.
So yes, that's
Hi.
Kwame, my co-host and partner of Hive Earth as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, right. It's 9:02. Let me start. If anybody comes in, I'll just admit them all. Okay, so I'm going to be hosting the space. So if I can just ask everyone to go on mute whilst I'm talking so we don't get any like background noise. Okay, cool. Right, okay, so let me start. Okay, so I'm Joelle. I'm, the one that you probably get all the emails from, blog posts, all of that. So I'm Joelle, one half of Hive Earth Studio. So I run Hive Earth with my partner, Kwame. So we just thought that we'd put this webinar together because we have a workshop coming up next year in Feb, and we're getting a lot of questions about the workshop. So we thought that this would be a good opportunity to just talk about who we are very briefly, talk about who we are, what RAMDEF is and its benefits, and just a very brief overview of what the workshop will entail, the itinerary and what you will get out of it at the end. And also just give you an opportunity to ask us any questions about the workshop if you are interested in coming. So let me get started. So Hive Earth is a multidisciplinary space. So we're based in Accra, Ghana. We also recently have a space in the UK as well, and because we're doing a lot of projects outside of Ghana, but our main base is in Ghana. So we specialize in the use of locally sourced and eco-friendly materials for the use of construction, interior decor, art and design. So as well as rammed earth, we also do earth roof tiles, earth flooring, earth plaster, interior decor pieces. We've done rammed earth chairs in the past. We've done rammed earth pots. Let me just get everybody else in. And art and design. So this year we're doing quite a few art installation pieces outside of Ghana, which we're really excited about. So yeah, that's us in a nutshell. So we've been running since 2017, but we've been doing a lot of research into earth construction and just earth as a material for almost 10 years now. We actually started our company because we had acquired some land in the Eastern region ages ago, and we actually wanted to build a community. And we were looking at eco-friendly ways that we can build these homes. Yeah, that's how we came across Around Earth. So, just give you more of a backstory of our inspiration. So, when we were looking at building our community, we were looking around us to see, okay, we've got all of this land, we've got all of this materials. Let's look at how we traditionally build in Africa and how we can, let's see how we can find a modernized version, a more stronger version. So we actually spent time in the rural areas, seeing how, people build, their traditional mud homes, and just seeing how we can modernize it, make it stronger. So we researched about different types of earth construction method. We looked at brick, we looked at adobe, and then, we came across rammed earth because we thought it was the most durable. And we thought it was something that kind of looks like concrete, but is a lot more natural, obviously. So, so you'll see, if you're familiar with our work, a lot of our walls is inspired by ancient African architecture. So for example, here, you'll see here in the walls, you've got the patterns, the Dinka symbols, and it's very similar to the work that we do. You'll find it in our work. We have like a lot of layers, we have a lot of patterns in our walls. And then also over here, part of the Mali Empire, they've used earth for centuries, and the buildings are still standing today. Obviously, they maintain it, but buildings are still standing today. So it shows that earth construction is very durable and is great for Africa. So again, over here, so you've got these rammed earth domes in Cameroon. So again, you'll see that we get a lot of our inspiration from ancient African architecture with the patterns on the walls here, the same that you'll find in our work also. And then also you've got the Ndemble homes of South Africa. You also see in our work as well, we use a lot of colors, we use a lot of layers in our walls. We have used iron oxide pigments in the past to color our walls, but we don't tend to use that too much now because we find that, after some time it can fade. So we try to stick to more natural pigments and colors. And in Ghana, we're actually quite blessed. Like, we have a lot of different earth colors that you can incorporate into your walls. And we have a lot of different like rock formations as well, where you can find different natural colors within the rocks. So, so yeah, we tend to use a lot more natural colors as a pigment for our walls. So very briefly, rammed earth is both a building material and a building method, a material process wherein the process itself directly creates the material on site and by hand. So rammed earth in a nutshell is basically a mixture of different earth aggregates, and you put it into a mix, and then the process itself is ramming the earth within your formwork. So it's pretty self-explanatory. So it can be done either by hand, which we do, or you can use a pneumatic rammer, which we have used in the past. There isn't really too much of a difference between the two if you're doing it by hand or if you're doing it with a pneumatic rammer. We tend to use hand rammers only because in the past, when we used pneumatic rammers, we found that, number one, in Ghana, it can be quite expensive to use pneumatic rammers because you have to buy diesel to power your compressor, to power the rammer. And then also it's just very noisy on site. And then also we kind of feel like it kind of defeats the purpose of being a sustainable way of construction. I mean, it's efficient, but it's, you're using diesel to power a compressor. So we just like the peaceful ambience on site that when you're building it by hand that it creates. So that's why we use hand rammers. And then also another reason why we use hand rammers is because when we started actually using pneumatic rammers in Ghana and they started breaking down, there wasn't anybody to be able to fix them. So because a lot of people haven't heard of or seen in pneumatic rammers, so it was quite hard to find someone to service them. So yeah, that's why we use hand rammers. So and then also with hand rammers, you can control the patterns, you can control the layers, you can control the type of texture that you want in the walls. And also you can employ more people as well. So yeah, that's why we prefer hand rammers. But then that's not to say in other countries, maybe pneumatic rammers will be a lot more effective because labor might be more expensive. So yeah, everyone's different in how they construct their walls. So just to give you some brief advantages of rammed earth. So it's got great high thermal mass. So it's fantastic if you're building in a hot country like Ghana. It helps to regulate the room temperature. I think the studies to show that it actually reduced the indoor temperature by 5 degrees. So because of the thickness of the walls, it takes a while for the heat to actually penetrate the indoor room temperature. So Ramdev walls are fantastic for that. It's got great noise control. So if you're living in a noisy city like Accra, it's fantastic for keeping the noise out. And then also it's quite good if you're using it for like acoustic properties. So if you're using it for, I don't know, like a recording studio or a cinema, something like that, it's got a lot of advantages for that. It's load bearing, so especially if you're building a single story building, you don't need to use iron rods because the walls itself are load bearing. It's sustainable as well. So there's two types of Ramdev that you can build with. You can have stabilized Ramdev, which is stabilized with cement, or you can have unstabilized Ramdev walls. We build both. So with unstabilized Ramdev walls, you have to really know your soils to know, which ones are best in order to have good stabilized unstabilized Ramdev walls, sorry. And then, with unstabilized Ramdev wall is a lot more eco-friendly because it's just pure earth walls. There's no cement in there, so it's it's very, very natural, very, very eco-friendly. If you decide that you want to knock your house down and you want to build something else, it can just go back to the earth. It can literally go back to the earth and use it for another use, and it won't lose its strength or anything like that. So with stabilized Ramdev walls, obviously you add a little bit of cement into it, so it can be anything from 2% or above. But then with stabilized Ramdev walls, it's like once you add the cement into it, it doesn't lose its eco-friendly properties because you're not using as much as conventional construction. Yeah, it's not as eco-friendly. It's still eco-friendly, but it's just not as eco-friendly as unstabilized. It's less natural. So it's got a low carbon footprint as compared to conventional construction. Most of the materials you can find in or around the site. You don't have to, go to a far place to get the materials. If you're lucky, you can even get the materials on the site itself. Obviously, all the walls are natural, especially if you're using unstabilized Ramdev walls. All the walls are natural. It's circular as well. So, if it's there for, let's say, like 100 years and it knocks down, doesn't take anything away from the earth because it's all natural materials that you're using in the walls. It's got great moisture control. So if you're living in a humid city like Accra, again, it's great at keeping the indoor environment very comfortable. Sometimes in Accra, the buildings can be very, very humid. So it's just great at just keeping it a very nice, cool, comfortable temperature. So it's great it keeps the moisture within the walls, but that's not to say that it, makes the walls any weak or anything like that. And it's great pest control as well. With traditional mud walls, you can get termites in the walls, but with Ramdev walls, because it's so compressed, there's no way for termites or anything to penetrate the walls at all. So, okay, so now we're going to go through the workshop itinerary. So I'm going to hand it over to Kwame. I don't know if you're still there.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Is there anything you wanted to add from what I said?
Yes, I think hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think with regards to its sustainability and its eco-friendliness, when it comes to the cement content and all that, I mean, as compared to conventional ways of building where you are using about 25% and over, with Ramdev, you are using at least 8 to 10%. That's most that we can go. And we do that in cases where structures have to go up very high, like 3 floors, 4 floors, where you want to incorporate, you want to make sure your compressive strength of the Ramdev walls are strong enough to be able to resist all the loads that are coming up on there. So it depends. And apart from that also, it depends on the, like Joel said earlier on, when you do just normal Ramdev walls, the soil selection is very, very critical because you don't want to build walls and at the end of the day, you have cracks in them. So that is, you realize is building just Ramdev walls is you need to be quite specialized in there because soil content, chemical content of the soil, elastic limits, water ratio, and all that matters. So that is also another reason why in cases where you are doing sustainable construction, cement content in walls.
Yeah.
You need to use cement content in walls in case you need to go up so high. Yeah.
So just as Kwame was saying, that's why if you're doing unstabilized round earth walls, it can be quite difficult as compared to if you're doing stabilized round earth walls, because you really need to know your soils. Like you really need to know how each soil performs. Otherwise, you get cracks, or maybe they'll start chipping away.
And a lot of times it depends on the client and what they want to go for, and also it depends on a lot of like when it comes to cost implications as compared to doing let's say you want to do a normal rounded wall where you want to go up 3 floors without cement or anything, then that means you might have to like either add lime, or your walls will have to be very thick, and you might have to like mechanically lift your walls up, where you'll be doing precast rounded walls and then you'll be lifting them up into the space, or where you want to incorporate lime into the building so that you get an extra binding agent that makes it stronger or gives it a more compressive strength. You can also use that, but the problem with lime is it's twice as expensive as cement when you compare the differences. So those are the cost implications that comes with it. Lime is expensive. Lime is like 25 kilograms, and cement is 50 kilograms, but lime is twice as expensive and half the size of cement. So those are the cost implications when it comes to rounded.
Yeah. In Ghana, it's quite expensive.
Yeah, in Ghana, sure, I don't know about other countries.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just go over the workshop itinerary. So Kwame, I'll leave it to you.
So yes, so for the workshop, basically it's going to be a 2-day workshop. On the first day, what we are going to go through is first we'll do the theoretical aspect, where we'll take you guys through rounded, the history of rounded, the do's and don'ts of rounded, how it should be done, and all that. We'll do an introduction into formworks, the different kinds of formworks. You have mechanical, you have metal formworks, you have wooden formworks. Some people like to use fiberglass. I mean, there are so many ways. Apart from that, we'll go into soil testing. We'll go into soil testing in the sense that there are cases where you want to do a rounded wall, or you want to build a project, and you always have to go to source material. Now, when you are sourcing for material, there's no lab on site for you to be able to test whether I need to pick these kinds of materials and take them to the lab. So we'll teach you first-hand experience of what you need to do to test that material before taking it to the lab. And then we are going to show you how you select your materials in case you want a rough texture, you want a smooth texture, what you need to do to the material to gain all those textures. Apart from that, we are going to teach you how you can have a mixed design. Let's say if you have 2 different kinds of materials and you want to mix them to get a different color, you want to mix the materials in such a way that you can be able to have nice wavy forms. That also we are going to teach you all that. So from there, I think then we'll have a buffet lunch. I mean, that's after all this theoretical aspect, we have a buffet lunch. And then after we go to the site where we will teach you guys how to fix the formwork physically, and then how to ram. When I say how to ram, there are different ways of ramming. I mean, it's not just pouring in your material into the formwork and then compacting it. If you want a smooth texture, there's a way you pour in your material. If you want a rough texture, there's a way you pour in your material. If you want to have different kinds of layers, there are different ways that you can pour in your material at different heights. Because what we do with rammed earth is once we pour, we ram them in lifts. That's like in 150 mm or 200 mm lifts. Now, when you pour in a 150 mm lift, that means you are going to compress it to half the size of that lift. So as you move along, so let's say if you have a volume of 1,000 kilograms of earth, at the end of the day, you need 2,000 kilograms of earth to fill your formwork, because you are going to compress that 1,000 kilograms to half of that size. And in order to fill that, you need an extra of that to fill it. So that's basically what we are going to go through in day one. And then in day two, because round earth is done in such a way that once it's done, you need to wait for 12 hours for it to dry. So you take your formworks off. In cases where you have more experienced builders and they are very aware of the mix design and everything, there are ways that you can build your walls and then you can take them off the same day. But that will need specialized, like I'm saying, you need to be specialized in it to be able to get a mix like that, so that when you are done ramming, you know you can take them off and move on without breaking the edges of your walls or the sides. So on the second day, we'll meet on site, take off the formworks and see how it looks. Look whether what we learned is what we've actually brought on site and what we've done is looking good. Once we take the formworks off, you would ram that. Once your formworks are off, you need to cure them. When I say curing is like making sure your ram dead walls dry slowly, because you don't want to expose them to sunlight so much so that it dries very quickly. When it happens like that, you get cracks and stuff in there. And also you lose a lot of the density of your material even loses by a bit of how would I say, you lose the density of your material. Let's say, because rounded normally the density is like 2,100 kilonewton meter cube. So if you let it dry slowly, then you are likely to have that that density, that bulk density. But then if it dries fast, then you are making it dry so fast that water is getting out of it quickly. So in that case, it becomes more lighter. That's what I mean when I say the density. So once we take them off, there are different ways that you can cure them. You can either cure them by spraying water onto them daily, or in our case, what we do is we shrink wrap it so that it generates moisture in there. It creates vapor and generates moisture, and then water builds up and then it cures itself. So we leave our shrink wraps on for like 2 weeks. And then after 2 weeks, when it has slowly dried up, we leave it for the weather so that it air dries and cures very nicely. Once ram dead walls are done, with ram dead, what we are basically doing is mimicking a sedimentary rock. So once they are done, they are cured properly and they are left in the weather. As sunshine, rain falls, we are basically building a sedimentary rock, but it's man-made. So at the end of the day, you have like something like a man-made stone. Yeah. So once that is done, and then I think yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. So yeah, so
that's about it. But I'm sure during the workshop we'll be able to go more in depth as to any questions that you have. But if you have any questions with regards to what we spoke about or anything about the workshop, you like to know anything, I mean, you're free to just
so ask. Yes, let me just wrap up quickly before the questions. So yeah, as Kwame was saying, day 2, remove the formworks. We will have a brunch Q&A. So that will be for a couple of hours. So that will just give you a chance to really ask us any questions that you had during the workshop, especially from the day before, because day 1 is going to be quite full on. So there might not be a chance to ask questions, but day 2 will really give you the chance to ask any in-depth questions that you have, and then we'll take you through the drying and curing process. So for so the workshop, I think a few have already signed on to it, but the workshop is about 4,000 cedis. So it's going to be in our Teshinagwa location. So yeah, so that's next year, Feb. So for the workshop, so you will be doing physical activity. So make sure that you're ready to, get in the mud, do some manual mixing. We're not going to have a mixer on site, so make sure you're ready to do some manual mixing. Get in there with your shovel. But I mean, it's not compulsory. Like, we've done workshops before where people have literally just sat back and just took pictures. So if you feel like, that's what you want to do, that's fine. But it's good to get involved and, really feel the soil and, know that this is the right mix. Make sure you're wearing comfortable trainers as well. make sure you're wearing clothes you don't mind getting dirty, because you will get dirty. And then a hat, you know, in case of if it's a really sunny day. But we will provide a helmet and gloves for the workshop if you don't have a hat. So yeah, so those are the requirements. So at the end of the workshop, so we'll give you a participation certificate. It's not an official accreditation, but just to show that you took part in the workshop with Hive Earth. So we're looking for this to be the first of many workshops. Next year, we really want to ramp up more training workshops. You know, one of the reasons why we're doing this is because we ourselves, like, we get a lot of jobs, like we get a lot of people wanting homes built, wanting walls built, and we can't possibly take on all the jobs. So, you know, we're looking at a way of just having more earth builders on a continent or around the world. And then, you know, after some time, like once we start having more workshops, then, you know, if we have more of you coming to more of our workshops, then maybe we can, you know, recommend you for projects. You know, we also want to continue giving you guys ongoing support. So it's not that you're just going to come to a workshop and we're going to leave you to it. So say if you come to a workshop or a couple of our workshops and you have a job that you want to do somewhere, we're more than happy to come out and, you know, support you on your projects to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Yeah, and then as I was saying, just create a community of more earth builders, you know, people that are using more eco-friendly materials to build with all over the world, not just in Africa. So so yeah. Carmen, I don't know if you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, is there anything that you wanna is there anything that you wanna add to the outcome? I don't know if I think you dropped off for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know what you said, but I
Yeah,
think
I was
at
just
the end
saying
of the
that.
day,
Okay, no, you go ahead.
at the end of the day, the main objective of doing this thing is because we need more earth builders in the system. And I mean, we've had webinars or we've been in sessions where there were a lot of architects on there. And when we say architects are the ones who are supposed to design with earth, they also say, yes, we can design with earth, but we don't have enough earth builders.
Yeah.
So apart from just getting earth builders, it's also another way of helping the planet through all this climate crisis. Another way that we can also help. Because imagine if you have 5 concrete buildings and then you inject about 2 earth buildings in there. Imagine the environment, how it reduces the, you know, carbon emissions and all that. So basically that's why we are doing this. And also as a business also to make some cash too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is the end of our part. So I don't know if there's any questions from you guys.
Hi, Joel. I've got a question, if I may. My name's Kwabena.
Okay. Hi, Kwabena.
How you doing? Thank you very much for the presentation, the webinar. I'll be lucky enough to join you guys in February. And I think it's really cool what you're doing, trying to encourage more people to actually become builders, like the execution side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a problem with capacity and getting enough people to be able to deliver out projects to the standard that you guys do. I think the 2 questions, I hope maybe others have wouldn't mind if I ask. The first one is, you talked about stabilized and unstabilized rammed earth buildings. Currently, pound for pound, what is the split between stabilized buildings, the buildings that we see in Africa and around the world? What split would you say are stabilized versus unstabilized? And then the second question, if I may, is are there any differences in the foundations that are created to hold these buildings, and can the foundations be made with the same type of technology?
Okay. All right. Let me take this. Yeah, I think that's a very good question. When it comes to the difference between stabilized and unstabilized buildings, I mean, I would say back in the day, we had more stabilized buildings, more unstabilized buildings than now. Okay. But currently, I believe there's more stabilized rammed buildings than unstabilized rammed buildings. But I mean, when you look at the whole continent and from inception as to earth construction, I would say earth construction is like ones without cement or ones that are not stabilized is a lot. The ones that are not stabilized is a lot more than. But those were like the mud houses, the cop buildings, the adobe homes, you know, those were those. But now when it comes to modern rounded, where you are doing unstabilized and stabilized rounded, I would say stabilized rounded is more in the system than unstabilized. And then when it comes to the different ways of doing the foundation, if you need to go up several floors, because there are projects that we've done like going up 3 floors, 4 floors, and we had to introduce concrete as the foundation because we had structural engineers involved, and the thickness of the walls and all that also come into play. But if you are doing a single-story building, you can do rounded foundations. We are currently doing a project where the footings and the foundation walls are all rounded. Basically, we are doing those because the footings, as compared to our calculations, whenever we are doing a project on the site, we do like small cubes, and then we take it to the Ghana Standards Authority for it to be crushed, so we know the compressive strength that we are working with. So when you as compared to conventional ways of building, where they just dig the trench, have a blinding of concrete about 50 or 100 mm, and then they have 150 mm walls in the trench, and then they backfill the soil that they dug. When you compare that to a rounded wall, which is filling a trench of, let's say, 450 mm wide, right, coming all the way up, and then you have 300 mm rounded walls sitting on as foundations, you can imagine what we are building, you know. And so I would say there are different ways you can do that. You can do rounded foundations. We are currently doing that. We've done that in the past in waterlogged areas, and it's really withstand all that. So
thank you.
That answers your question.
It does, thank you.
Okay, so we have Richard Amadou.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi.
Oh, the name is Richard Adumwa.
Adumwa, sorry. That's so bad for me, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. So thank you very much. I think I've been looking forward to a more practical aspect of your lectures. I was part of the previous one, and in as much as you have the knowledge, and I'm an architect, by the way, and you can implement it maybe in your design, you realize that there are challenges, as you mentioned. There's lack of contractors that are able to work with rounded. But I would like to ask, with this workshop that we are doing, would there be a component where we would understand how to at least do basic quantification of cost estimates? Because with the kind of QS that we work with, most of them are not also familiar with how the whole round earth costing works. So you put it in your design and they are not able to cost it. It will take them a long time to get maybe the information or the understanding they need to cost it. So that's one. Then secondly, if you are coming in a group, are there discounts, and what are the discounts price? Yeah, thank you.
All right. I think with your first question was if sorry, can you come back again?
So my first question has to do with if there will be a costing component to the workshop where we can understand basic costing.
So with the costing component, there are so many what would I say? There are so many variables that come into play, because let's say imagine you have a project in Kumasi, right?
Yeah.
Before I do costings for you in Kumasi, I'll need to come to Kumasi, do feasibility studies on closeness of material to your site, whether the material on your site is ideal. If it's not, then we'll have to go out of your site, right? Now, all those are implications that add up to the cost. Now, apart from that, we'll need to do testing of the soil to see whether the soil on your site is ideal. It's something that we can build with. How far out, if it's not on your site, how far are we getting it? You know, apart from that, you also need to look at your client's budget, because there are different ways of building with rounded. If the clients wants it that fast, it's going to cost more, because then we might have to get more formwork to be able to build more walls at a time, instead of using 2 or 3 formworks to build and then move them to the other side to build. You get me? So when it comes to that, all we can do is, maybe I'm sure at the workshop, once these questions come up, we can go through how we do our costings with you. I mean, so that you get an idea, but it varies from project to project. Mm-hmm. You have a project in Pampa, material on the site is good, everything is good. You don't have to convey materials from there. All that affects the cost, because you want to give a very big cost. So that is something. So most of the time, when people want to do projects with rounded, it's best to contact the person coming to build, so they do the costings for you. But if you give it to a quantity surveyor who hasn't got any idea about rounded and all that, he will do the costings. You bring it to us, and we'll have to redo it for you. So it's always best to contact your contractor for him to do that for you. I mean, you can give you the basics of costing, or give you a square meter price. But even that still differs.
It differs per location, per the circumstances on ground, right?
Yes. So I feel Joel will focus on the other one.
I can relate to what you're saying, but I hope that during the workshop, at least we'll get the basics as architects, and we would be able to maybe come out with a certain range for some of the square areas to do the work for the construction. So
I mean, I think when you come to the workshop, I mean, we'll be doing a 4-foot wall. So from there, you'll be able to have a rough idea of, the cost of the material that's going into it, how much you would charge, or how much your labor charge will be, what materials or components you need to actually make that wall. So it should give you an idea of the cost when you're actually doing the workshop, so you know exactly what's going to go into that Ramdef wall.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. All right. And I think my second question.
Yeah, about this. So I'll send you an email. We have a discount code. So I'll send you an email with that code that you can use.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so Aya's Galaxy.
Hello.
Hi. Did I pronounce your name right?
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for this session. I'm Dauja from Sierra Leone.
Oh, hi.
Cool. Yeah, so first and foremost, I want to ask a question. As you likely mentioned, I want to know how we
I think your connection isn't very good. I can't really hear you.
Stuff, things like LinkedIn.
I think your connection isn't very good. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's
just okay.
Very, very bad.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Your connection's quite slow.
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, I think it's better now. Can you repeat your question, please?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but it keeps on breaking up.
Hello?
Hi. Yeah.
Well, I'm really in the interior.
Okay. I'll come back to you because I can't hear you.
Okay, can you get me now?
It keeps on breaking up, so we'll come back to you.
Okay, so I was just asking, in doing this structure, how?
Yeah, I think he's gone off. Okay, so Okay, so let me ask, Ian Dollar, did I say your name right?
Greg.
Hi,
Greg will stand for the day. How are you,
Greg.
guys?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, marvelous. Thank you. Good to put a name to a face. Kwame, hi. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Greetings from Bolga. It's not Sierra Leone, but it's almost as exotic. What is the ideal thickness for a rammed earth wool? Unstabilized. It's hot up here. It bounces off the other side of 50 degrees. I want to keep this place cool.
Okay. So unstabilized, ideal thickness is about, I'd say about 30 centimeters. We've even had, I know that even in some places, like in Europe, they've done unstabilized rammed earth walls where the walls are even like 45 centimeters. So yeah, but 30 centimeters is a good thickness for unstabilized.
I'm down with that. Okay, expansion bolts, plugs, things like that. I want to fasten a lot of things to the wall.
Yeah, so with the workshop, we'll show you how you can fasten things to the wall. But in terms of like, electricals, plumbing, all of that, it's all done in situ in the wall. So we'll show you how you combine that to the formworks and how you ram around it, and then how you feed your electrical and any wires through the pipes of that. So all that we'll show you in the workshop.
You mentioned something about insects, termites, and I didn't quite catch it.
Yeah, so normally with traditional earth walls, the ones that you get in the villages, like normally you get like you can get termites getting into the earth. But with rammed earth walls, they're termite free because the earth is so compressed. Like it's hard for termites to try and penetrate. So that's just one of the advantages of a rammed earth wall. It's extremely compressed. So as Kwame was saying, with rammed earth, it's like you're making a man-made sedimentary rock. So it's termite proof, so you won't get any pest issues or anything like that. And then on top of that, we also will show you an admix that you can also use in your walls to give it that extra layer of protection. And we have a sealant that we also use that you can add on the surface of the wall just to give it that extra layer of protection. But then in the past, we've done walls before. We haven't used any admix, we haven't used any sealant, and they're still standing, and we don't have any termite issues. So yeah, it's just one of the advantages of rammed earth.
Okay, that instills me with confidence.
Did you say you were in Bolgatanga?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so you're probably around quite a few earth buildings.
Yeah, it's really patchy.
Yeah.
In terms of what I would perceive to be material that's usable. But then again, I don't really know what I'm talking about. Oh, all those beautiful houses, they're all concrete now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, soil testing, that's going to be a big one. We don't have as much laterite soils up here as you get in the south, and it would seem that in a lot of your literature there's a lot of laterite. Am I correct?
I mean, there's definitely suitable soils up, your way. I mean, we've actually done a project in the north before, which unstabilized as well. We did a project in Sang, and the earth was the mix that we got was really good. So there are places that you can get the right mix. I mean, and if you can't get laterite on the site, as Kwame was saying, then maybe we can find a place nearby, most likely a quarry, and where we can, get the right laterite or get the right earth to use for the mix. But I'm sure that you'll be able to get the right type of soil up in the north. I'm sure we can get laterite up there.
All right, so 30 centimeters you're saying, and then in Europe you're saying up to 48 centimeters.
45, yeah. There's some buildings unstable that they've used 45 centimeter walls before, but normally. So go ahead.
No, go ahead, João.
No, I was going to say unstabilized. Best bet. Okay, 30 centimeters is good.
All right. Well, this has been great. Me and a bunch of guys will come down, and I'm just delighted to hear that you guys are busy as bees and lots of contracts and everything. I'm so happy about that. I love hearing about that kind of stuff. So
No, thank you.
anyway, I will. I'm sure I could carry on and thrill you all, but I will take my hand down and the next person in the queue. Thanks so much, Joelle and Kwame.
Thank you. Okay, so Nzinga.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi. It's so nice to be here and to meet you all. So we're both actors in the earth construction sector. So I'm an architect based in Senegal, and we don't use much of Ram Earth there. So we work mostly with compressed and stabilized earth bricks and Adobe and Canva, the traditional constructive system. So I'm also curious to be able to learn more about this. I didn't know about the workshop. I'm quite excited about it. Obviously, I'm quite far, but if there's any ways to be able to make it, it would be really, really great to be able to participate. So I've noted that it's for February next year, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay, no, it's fine. So the question that I had, sorry, it's a bit of an architect question, is to wonder whether in the workshop or just generally you provide assistance, that is more design related, because as I understand it, I've gone to understand that stabilization in earth construction is often, I think, a question as well of design, of rain, and to protect the wall against rain, or to not have to maintain it probably every year or every 2 years. So is there, a kind of correlation when you go for unstabilized ram earth wall, where you sort of also advise about the type of maybe renders that have to be made, or the maintenance of the frequency of maintenance that would be required? That's the first question I had.
Yeah, I mean, just like normal things, like if you're designing with unstabilized rammed falls, depending on how the site is, like if it's on a hill or if it's in a waterlogged area, then maybe we would advise to, make your foundation higher. Maybe we might not advise to use like an unstabilized rammed foundation. We'll also maybe advise on like larger overhangs. I mean, this workshop, because we're not architects, we ourselves wouldn't be able to, we can advise on design for you, but so what we'll do is we have an architect that we work with, that we worked with for years. So he'll also be at the workshop as well. So if you have any questions in terms of design, then you can ask him, and then also we can also advise. But in terms of unstabilized, if you're designing with unstabilized, there's a bit more, how can I say that? There's a bit more like design features in terms of protecting the walls that you'll need to use, as opposed to unstabilized rammed earth. But then, as I said, it all really depends on how the site is, how big the building is, how you want to design a building. Maybe we might advise that, maybe you can do some of your exterior walls with a little bit of, stabilization, and your interior walls can be stabilized. But it really depends on the site conditions and also the weather as well, where you are. Like there's some areas, for example, in Ghana, where the rainfall is a lot. So maybe we'll advise, okay, you can position the building this way so that when it does rain, it's not, hitting the wall directly. So it really depends on the area of the site, and also the condition of the mix that we find. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. Thank you. I have two tiny more questions, and the last one probably is for Kwame, because just a clarification. The one other question was about the process of manual ramming. We had a question about how you ensure consistency when you have very different people ramming, because I vividly remember one of the lectures by Francis Kéré when he was talking about the process of actually doing clay soils, and how there was a drummer that was there in order to ensure consistency, really. And I was wondering, especially with something like ramming the walls, that consistency of strength is also really important, and manual versus pneumatic. How do you ensure that the manual rammers always can apply, if they're multiple, if they apply consistency, or if it's the same person that has, is a bit more tired at the end of the day, does that affect maybe the compressive strength of the project? And the last question, I'm just going to throw it there, but it's for Kwame. It was just a clarification on how you're able to extract parts of the wall for testing, because I don't know whether you cut it or you do another sample wall on the side to get it to the lab. So that's it. That's all the questions I had. Yeah.
So with the consistency of the ramming, so in our team, we actually have specific people that we use for the ramming, and they're quite experienced. So they normally take it in turn, so they know that, okay, if this person's getting tired, then this person can take over. And then also when you are ramming, when you're in the format and you are ramming, you can feel when the wall is actually compressed. And then also we haven't really had a difference in terms of compressive strength with the pneumatic rammed wall and the manually rammed wall. In the past, we've done manually rammed walls where we've achieved an MPa of about 13, which is likely to the strength of concrete before, and it's gotten stronger over time. So there isn't really any difference between manually compressed and pneumatic compressed walls. But it is good to have people that are dedicated in your team that know what it feels like when the wall is manually compressed and when it's actually done. So when you are ramming it and the walls are compressed, you really feel, you can even hear it, that it actually feels like a stone. So it feels like you're hitting against the stone. So with experience, you'll know when the wall is done. And then also when you do pour, maybe you can have a situation where, let's say you pour your mix into the formwork, and maybe you can have a line of where you want the earth to ram to. So if we pour in our mix, maybe you want to compress it to 50% less of its volume of when you poured it into the earth. So that's also a good indication to let you know that, okay, the earth is actually is really compressed. And then in terms of taking a sample to the lab, what we do is, when we come to your site, we either look on the site or in the local area to get the right mix. We liaise with the client and make sure that this is the color that you want. And then from there, we just do like a small cube sample, and then we take that to the lab, and then we do a crushing test to get the compressive strength. So maybe, I think in Ghana, they need about 7 different cube samples. I think they crush 3 over certain amounts of times. Maybe they'll crush one in week 1, they'll crush another one week 2, and they'll crush another one in week 3. And then they also pour some in water as well. So yeah, just small cube samples. We take it to the lab, and then they test it for us that way.
Okay, but you don't cut them from the wall that you make. It's kind of done separately. Okay.
Yeah, it's done separately. It can be done just a small cube, or maybe you can like cut a pipe, really like maybe into like 15 centimeters, and you can just ram within the pipe the mix that you want to use. Once you're done, you just cut out of the pipe and you just take it to the lab for testing.
Thank you so much for answering.
Okay, who else? So nobody's got any more questions? I don't see any more hands up. Oh, okay. Okay. Hi, Tenny. But you're on mute. You're still on mute. Okay, yeah, still on mute. Okay, let me.
Okay.
Hi.
Off mute. Yeah. So yeah, it's Kaja. And I went to college
hi.
with you.
I didn't even recognize you. You look so different. How are you? Good. How can I help?
Yeah. I'm based in Senegal now.
So I can't really hear you properly.
I'll say I'm based in Senegal now.
Okay.
And I'm a civil engineer here. Okay. Some of the questions have already been answered. But the main thing for me was I wanted to used Ramda for like a boundary wall.
Okay.
And my thing was about movement joints and like what is the longest stretch of wall you can get along like a boundary fence, and also will you be covering windows and doors and the lintels and stuff like that. And the last question was about curved walls. Have you done any curved walls or anything like that before?
Okay, so we have done curved walls in the past before, but we won't be doing it for this workshop. Maybe another workshop we'll be doing that. In terms of the length of the Ramdef wall, Kwame is the Ramdef expert in that. So I know like normally depending on the mix, I think it's like every 10 feet you need to have a control joint in your Ramdef wall to prevent any cracks or anything like that. But I know Kwame in the past has done walls that are like 40 feet without any control joints. I don't know how he does it. But he has done it before. So I know there's some clients who don't like. We had a client recently who didn't like the look of the control joint at all. So what does
a control joint look like?
It's basically like a groove in the Ramdef wall. So it's just like a small groove every 10 feet. So you can see
and you
it.
You don't put anything in between there, or
no? It's just like a chamfered groove.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
But yeah, as I was saying, we had a client recently who didn't like the look of that at all, and somehow Kwame was able to do 40-foot wall without any control joint. So I think he's dropped off the call. But I will ask him and then I can get back to you how he does that. But and what else did you ask? Another question?
It was curved walls and then windows, doors and lintels, the construction around that.
Yeah, I mean, we won't be covering that in this workshop. I mean, we can demonstrate how it's done, but because of the time, we won't be able to actually do how to attach door, lintel, windows to the wall in this particular workshop. But we will have a workshop that will just go into detail about how to do that.
Okay, and it won't be anytime soon. Because I live in Senegal, so it would be a thing of what if I did I'd have to go and come back.
Yeah, I mean, we might actually have a workshop in Senegal soon as well, because it's not. Yeah, because it's not just Ghana that we want to have the workshops, like because we get requests from all over. So we're looking to have a workshop next year, January, Nigeria, and then maybe Senegal later on in the year. But yeah, Ghana, Nigeria are the first stops, and then definitely throughout the year we'll be having workshops in other countries. We even had a workshop recently in Dubai. So yeah, So we're looking to like a workshop tour next year. So I'm sure if there's a lot of demand, it will come to Senegal. So yeah.
Great. Okay, that's my question.
I
know, it's good to see you too.
Okay. So David Ball. Hello, David.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. I think it's good. It's very dark here in Sierra Leone. I think the question has already been answered.
Okay.
My take is just ask. I just want to ask, how can we take care of the lintels, which has already answered, and also if someone is traveling from Sierra Leone to Ghana just to have this training, can we have any discounts? Can we have any discounts? And also the accommodation. Is there any accommodation nearby?
If you send me an email about the discount, since you're gonna be traveling, then I've got a discount code I can give you. In terms of accommodation, I don't know of any personally, but I will have a look and let you know. So just send me an email with everything that you need, and then I will see what I can do.
Okay.
But I mean,
please, can you send me please your email?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I will do.
Okay. Then thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got Chantel.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can hear you.
Most of my questions were answered but the last one I have, I saw in some of your emails that you guys do tiles, floor tiles. So I was wondering about flooring. If we can do like some tiles, or 'cause I'll tell you, I really want to do a round earth bathtub because I'm extra, but I know you're not full bathtub, but like formwork or like how you get tiles for flooring and like maybe a sink, or can we cover something or get some direction when we get there?
Yeah, I mean, for this workshop, I don't think we'll have time to cover flooring, but we do, I mean, you'll see in our studio, we have a lot of like earth floor tiles, so you'd definitely be able to have a look at how they look like, and you know, what we use to make them. And then maybe the next day when we're having our Q&A branch, then maybe we can, you know, go into, you know, a little bit more detail about how they're made and whatnot. But for this workshop, we won't be focusing too much on the tiles. But as I said, like, since you'll be at our studio, you'll be able to see what they look like. But we will be having a workshop just on the tiles because we get a lot of people wanting to know how to do their own floor tile. So it's definitely something that we'll be doing next year as well.
And then just lastly, if you don't want to do tiles, but you want to do kind of like an earthen floor, like I've seen it done differently, like Mexicans do it. Have you guys ever done like a floor just ramming the floor without a tile?
We haven't done a rammed earth floor yet. We've done an earth plastered floor. So it's like a wet earth mortar, but we haven't actually done a rammed earth floor yet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Mew.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for this workshop and the presentation. I have one of the questions is answered already. The second one is always been asked me whether we can do ceilings, I mean slabs with a rammed earth. Is that even possible, or it's conceptual?
It's very conceptual at the moment. It's definitely something that we're looking at doing, but we're very much in the research phase of it. But yeah, it's very, very conceptual. I mean, I don't think I've actually seen a rammed earth or earth slab yet, but yeah, it's definitely something that we're looking into because you know, when we're going up multiple stories, we have to use a concrete slab, and it just kind of looks out of place. So it would be good if we're going up multiple stories, if we can have a complete earth building with an earth slab. But yeah, it's very much a concept at the moment that we're looking into.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, any other questions?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Vava, and I'm joining from London.
Hi.
So I've just got I think I had a couple of questions, but I think some of the questions were answered along the line. I think I was just hoping to see some case studies regarding what you guys have been doing. Maybe like talk through some of how you were able to go around maybe some challenges or difficult situations on site and things like that. I'm guessing that'll probably be in the workshop, but I thought maybe there could be like things that you've done and then maybe seen something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely go over some case studies in the workshops. You know, with a lot of the projects that we do, like we can't share too much because we signed like NDAs with a lot of them. Like a lot of people are quite private about their projects, but you know, definitely the workshop we can go into detail about some of the, you know, challenges that we faced on site or just with the earth in general. Yeah.
Just another question. How, because I've lived in Ghana and I know how it is when it comes to things like this. How difficult or easy was it to convince your clients, or what sort of clients do you deal with in this sort of projects?
Surprisingly, people think that it's quite difficult to convince people, but people are really receptive to building with Earth. Like I'm surprised every day. Like people really love the concept of building with rammed earth, and especially when they see it and they see how strong the walls are, and when they're in a rammed earth building, like how it makes them feel, and how it's natural and it's cool. Like people really love it, so it doesn't take too much convincing. So yeah, there's a lot of demand in Ghana. Yeah, no, there's a lot of demand in Ghana for Ramdo. In Africa in general, all over, but Ghana, like, it's definitely we get a lot of demands. Yeah.
And what sort of areas is it like? Is it the cities or the suburban?
Mostly outside. In particular, we get a lot of demand from the central region. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people.
Tourism up there.
It's not even tourism. There's a lot of people relocating. There's a lot of people from the diaspora relocating to the central region. So we get a lot of demand from the central region. We haven't had. If we get a demand from Accra, it's normally like a public building, something like that. But yeah, we get a lot of demand from the central region. Abri, Eastern region is also a big one. We get a lot of demand from Eastern region. Yeah, there's a lot of demand. Like I think at least a couple of times a week we have to turn people away. So yeah, there's a lot of demand in Ghana.
Okay, so in terms of, I think I'm also very much interested in how these materials are acquired and how this sort of sites are restored after. What sort of, do you guys have any idea or plan as to how this is done, or how you intend to do things like this going forward?
How do you mean, how's the site restored?
Yeah, because obviously they go to, I mean, these things are dug out from the earth, isn't it? So
yeah.
Yeah, so how is that like?
So to be honest, most of the time when we're building, so it is possible to get the materials on the site, but a lot of the time when you do get the materials from the site, you can get inconsistencies in the material. So if you have a site, for example, you can dig in one place and then, like a couple of, meters ahead on the same site, the material can be different from where you dug before. So just to save on time and just inconsistencies of materials, most of the time we can get the materials from a nearby quarry, and there's normally a nearby quarry which is not too far away, or maybe even sometimes if, let's say for example, Accra, like maybe there's a site that's like excavated the soil, maybe you can do a deal with them to use that soil for your project, and maybe it would be cheaper than getting it from a quarry. But most of the time, and because the client might have a specific color that they want to use, they might have a specific style that they want to use for their building, it's just easier to get the material from a quarry, just so that you're meeting because some clients, they want like a really deep earth red color. Some people want even a gray color, some people want like a light brown. So it really depends on the client what type of color that they want for the earth, what kind of finish that they want as well. It's just easier to get it from a quarry.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fine with me. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, so is there any other questions? Yeah, I don't think there's any more questions. Okay, all right, so yeah, it was great meeting all you guys. Like, it's nice to put a name to the faces that I've been emailing. I hope that I don't bombard you guys with too much emails. Sometimes I feel like I'm always sending you guys emails all the time. But yeah, hopefully we'll see some of you at the workshop. And if you have any other questions, then feel free to email me. And then for those of you coming like outside of Ghana, let me know so I'll see how we can help in terms of maybe getting accommodation or with cost. Yeah. So there's no more questions. I'm going to end the space. And yeah, it was nice to speak with all you guys this evening.
I'm just thrilled. I'm
Thank
just
you.
thrilled to hear how it's going for you guys. Take care, everyone.
All right, thank you. Take care,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.